This is a read aloud of the Manifest Destiny article in your Module 12 file. So if you would like to follow along with me, I will read this aloud for you. Part 1, Manifest Destiny. In 1845, a New York editor named John O'Sullivan painted a picture with words that would color the way Americans would see themselves for the next 150 years. He declared Americans had a God-given right to expand from the originally settled colonies all the way to the Pacific Ocean. His words prophesied the fulfillment of our manifest destiny to overspread the continent allotted by Providence for the development of our yearly multiplying millions. In other words, the United States had a divine mission to take the whole of North America by force if necessary, and thus make room for its own rapidly growing population. In doing so, Americans believed they would carry the blessings of democracy to less favored peoples who happened to occupy attractive lands nearby. The theme of destiny was not new. The Puritans emphasized the special destiny of America and compared themselves to biblical heroes leading people to a promised land. Later, in his second inaugural address, Jefferson again recalled the promised land. I shall need the favor of that being in whose hands we are, who led our fathers as Israel of old from their native land and planted them in a country flowing with all the necessities and comforts of life. Supporters of Manifest Destiny would point out the overall result was tremendous growth and prosperity for America. It was a way to obtain a new long-term lease on the Jeffersonian ideal that abundant land resources was the key to a prosperous republic. Far from weakening the republic, they argued, territorial growth would strengthen it by providing unlimited economic opportunities for future generations. But at whose expense would prosperity be obtained? For the Native American and Mexican people already living in newly acquired lands, it meant tremendous death and destruction. While the realization of manifest destiny did remove the threat of foreign powers from the land, the argument can be made that it was both a blessing and a curse. A literal interpretation of manifest destiny suggests a conviction that God meant for North America to be under American control. Many people would argue that this had a racist element. Did manifest destiny mean to project a form of Anglo-Saxon supremacy? Or was it simply a form of idealism? It really depends on who you ask. One person may say that manifest destiny was an ideal that helped America grow and prosper, while another may say it was just a way to justify doing whatever necessary to get the land we wanted. Idealism or ambition? You decide. Part 2. This is an excerpt from explanatory text accompanying lithograph published by George A. Crofts in 1873. This rich and wonderful country, the progress of which at the present time is the wonder of the old world, was until recently inhabited exclusively by the lurking savage and wild beasts of prey. If the rapid progress of the Great West has surprised our people, what will those of other countries think of the Far West, which was destined at an early day to be the vast grain-producing region, as it is now the treasure chamber of our country? So here's a painting called American Progress, and there's an analysis printed next to the painting. In the foreground, the central and principal figure, a beautiful and charming female, is floating westward through the air, bearing on her forehead, the Star of Empire. On the right, the picture is a city, steamships, factories, schools, and churches, over which beams of light are streaming and filling the air, indicative of civilization. The general tone of the picture on the left declares darkness, waste, and confusion. From the city proceed the three great continental lines of railway. Next to these are the transportation wagons, overland stage, hunters, gold seekers, pony express, pioneer emigrant, and the warrior dance of the noble red man. Fleeing from progress are Indians, buffaloes, wild horses, bears, and other game, moving westward, ever westward. The Indians with their squaws, papooses, and pony lodges turn their despairing face forward. turn their despairing face toward as they flee from the wondrous vision. The star is too much for them.